Hey, it's Jules, and today we'll be drawing and learning about the Northern Lights, otherwise known as the Aurora Borealis. We're going to go through these steps step by step together, so all you have to do is follow along and have fun, and you too will be able to create this beautiful oil pastel. Today I'm using Craypaws Junior Artists, so you'll just need some Craypaws and oil pastels and a paper towel. All right, let's get started. We are going to start with our peach, which is a neutral color. It's the lightest neutral color. And here you see step one, about 3 finger widths in. We're going to draw the first mountain. It kind of slopes down like here. That's step number 1. Step number 2, we have this second mountain that tucks behind here. Very good. We also have this third kind of sloped hill in the foreground that some of our trees will live on. Now we're going to start with the first Aurora Borealis. It's going to start way over here and get really high up. So I'm going to draw this lower edge first. Any kind of shape that you want. There's no wrong way to make these shapes. The Northern Lights, or the Aurora Borealis as it's called, has been seen since the ages of dinosaurs. So they've been around a long time. That's this one. Now we'll do this one in the corner here. They've been around a long time, and it was said that the legends and myths have taught the people to respect and fear and even worship these lights. So here, let's do one more. They kind of start from behind the mountains, and the shapes are sort of like ribbon shapes or curtains. They are thought of as little curtains kind of flying in the wind. So there's my third shape there, or my fourth shape. I have 1 shape, 2 shapes, 3 shapes, 4 shapes. So the Aurora Borealis is caused by the electrical charges in the sun, from the sun. Now I'm going to start with this white, and we're going to do this whole top of this mountain, but then just the peak of this mountain back there. So you want to kind of hold down your paper really good, and you want your strokes to be sort of diagonal, kind of like this. We don't need to press so hard that we break our oil pastel. You can see mine's pretty small. I've been using this one for a while. But the way we put the strokes on the paper helps tell the story of what's going on. And in this case, it's a mountain peak, and mountains kind of go up and diagonally. So that's how I want my strokes to be, up and diagonal like this. So that whole mountain is colored in white, but just this tip over here is going to have the white peak because we want to have shadow. See this shadow back here? So we'll just do the peak over here in white. Now we're going to add the blue, so we'll put the white back in our box. We'll get the blue, and we want the blue to come up from this hill in the foreground. And when we cover the white, you'll see it has a very pretty, interesting look. Again, my strokes are diagonal. I'm just having fun with this. There's no wrong way to do it. It's just if you put your strokes kind of upward and diagonally kind of going up and down, you'll have a little more success of having it look like a mountain range. Okay, after I do that, I want to place my hand firmly down, and I can use my finger to blend these two colors together. This is the fun part. If you don't like using your finger, you can use a little bit of a paper towel like this. You always want to go in one direction so you don't crinkle your paper like that, okay? So it's important to put one hand down and the other one kind of goes in one direction to smooth out to blend the oil pastels together. This is a fun lesson to use oil pastels because there's a lot of blending in this color, in this project. Okay, so then in this one over here, you could see all of this under here is going to be blue. Once again, I'll start here. I can kind of trace that down if I want. And then I go up and into and over the white snow peak, just like that. You don't have to put it on too thick. A little black showing through is interesting. I actually like to use my finger. I think I can have a little bit more control. But if you wanted to use your paper towel, that's an option too. Just try to go in one direction so that you don't crinkle your paper. Okay, we'll also be putting some blue down in this area. The lights are caused by electrically charged particles that are released from the sun, and they travel from the sun. It takes them a couple days, but they travel from the sun 150 million kilometers across space to our Earth. Okay, so this is our Earth. The sun is 150 kilometers away. Now we're going to add the black. So let's put the blue back in our box. Let's get the black out. I'll start with this shadowed mountain back here. And I'm just going to overlap the blue just at the base. Like this. That looks really good. Okay, and then once again, I want to blend. I can blend toward the top. If I blend toward the top, then, or you can just kind of, in the corner, you can kind of go out like this. I'm going to lay just a light coat, I guess you could say, just a light stroke of black on there, and then I'll blend that like that. Very good. And now we will put some trees on there. Trees can be very, very easy. You could start with just a straight line like this, and then the branches grow upwards. And I'm just doing zigzags back and forth. They go upward until they're heavy enough to go downward. Okay, so these are very simple, easy, fun little shapes that resemble trees in our Arctic northern hemisphere. Okay, so the northern lights gets the name because they are found in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Notice how I have some back here behind the tree line. Those look really far away. Maybe those are smaller so that they appear further away because this mountain is further away. So maybe they're a little bit smaller. There we go. That looks really good. So when those charged particles that come from the sun, when those charged particles reach our Earth's magnetic field, they're funneled down around the North Pole and the South Pole, producing this light, and it's called an aura. It's called an aura. So let's get out the light green. The aura is mainly greenish colors and rosy colors, rosy reddish colors. So those colors are formed because of the nitrogen and the oxygen in the air that we breathe. So when the oxygen reaches these magnetic particles from the sun, we get greenish tones. And when the nitrogen reaches these particles, we get the purplish, pinkish tones. Okay, so right now, let's not forget this is the black part here. right now I'm kind of putting in these greenish tones. I'm covering up the lines that I drew, okay? And I'm going up like this, up, because the light kind of bounces and glows upward from the earth back to the sun, kind of like this, all right? Very fun. Now I'm going to do step 9, which is the dark green. So I want to overlap. I want to overlap the light green, like so. I'm overlapping the light green. And then I'm going upwards into what the next color will be, which is blue, but we'll get there in a minute. So when I overlap the dark green and the light green, I get a nice gradation. Gradation is where you can't really tell where one color starts and the other color stops. So there is my pretty gradation there. Okay. This last one also has some green in it. Again, you want to just kind of do light, loose, nice kind of airy strokes that go up. And at this stage, we can take one of these other fingers that isn't quite dirty yet, and we want to go up. We want to blend the two colors up. Maybe we just do a little bit of blending right now because we're about to get blue involved, and we want blue to also be in this blending, all right? Again, if you would rather, you can kind of blend a little bit with a paper towel. Whatever makes you happy. Okay, so just as I said, this 10th step, we're going to use blue. And I'm going to overlap the green and then go a little bit past the green. Okay, I'm using up and down strokes because the light goes upward. It kind of goes back to the sun, which is above the earth, right? And if you ever need to peel off a little paper, don't forget, you just want to peel off a little bit at a time. Just a little bit, only as much as you need. Because if you peeled off all the paper, then A, your hands would get dirty faster. And B, your oil pastel would be more liable to break. And let's face it, we don't want to break that, do we? So again, I'm overlapping the green and then I'm going up past beyond the green. After I get a nice little layer in there, then I can kind of float a few strokes kind of up like this. All right, I'll put some blue in this one. There we go. I'll put some blue in this one. Okay, and then once again, we can blend those together. At the very, very end, if you need to or want to, you can even add a little bit more color on the page, but this is good to start, all right? As your hands touch the rest of the paper, you just want to be careful that you're not kind of touching and smudging the beautiful mountain range that you have already done. There we go. The blending really is really fun with oil pastels. That's why oil pastels are one of my favorite mediums to work with. I'm going to grab the purple, okay? So the purple is really thin over here, and then it's going to get wider and fatter. I'm going to overlap my blue and then keep going. Notice how my strokes are kind of long and airy and wide here. And like that. Don't worry about getting it on the table. Don't try to get it on the table, but if you do get it on the table, that's okay, because you want to go all the way up and off of your paper. Okay, here's my purple over in this one. First, I just did that thin line overlapping the blue. And then, as you can see here, I've really done some streaks because it's light. It's not a hard edge. The bottom is kind of a hard edge actually, but the top is very atmospheric and light and lifts towards the sky. Okay, that looks awesome. And then you can, I'm not blending down here anymore. I'm just blending the purple and the blue together now. Purple and blue, purple and blue. Remember, the Aurora Borealis is mostly greenish tones. Okay, that's why this one and this one don't have red and pink in them, because it's mostly greenish tones. But the pinks and the reds make it very visually interesting and pretty to look at, doesn't it? Okay, so I've laid the red in, and then I'm going to overlap the purple a little bit. Like this. I'm going to go all the way up off the top of the page. I'm going to skip that one, and I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of red into this bottom one over here. There we go. Okay. Now I can blend again. Now I'm just blending the tops as I go. I'm not blending all of it down here anymore. I'm just blending the top. Once again, you can use your finger. You might see this line in there from the beginning, but once we get the pink going, the pink will kind of cover that up. There's my blend in there. Next is pink, so let's put the red back. We'll grab the pink. And now with the pink, I'm gonna kind of start a little bit higher up. And I'm really gonna overlap and really kind of go up like this. Overlap the red in this area here. When you overlap pastels, lots of magic happens. That's where the beauty and that's the reason to believe with oil pastels is layering and blending. It gives such a beautiful, easy layer and blend. Okay, if that got a little too dark, just add a little bit more and maybe use a cleaner finger. I can use the paper towel. Kind of just come up, or you can also just wipe off your fingers like this with the paper towel. That's another use for the paper towel. And then blend up that pink. Very pretty. Maybe you want a little bit more in here. Once again, my strokes are going upward. It seems kind of strange to do. Usually the horizon, the sky goes with the horizon line. But in this case, we want that light to look like it's going up towards the sun or toward the moon. All right, very good. Now we're going to jump back to our black. So I used black construction paper, as you can see. I should have pointed that out. And then our night sky is very dark. So I'm going to take this black and I'm going to put it like into and on top of this light at the top so that it looks like it's just fading into the sky. That's the really pretty thing happening here. I want to fade that light into the sky. So I'm using a very light touch up there, very light. Okay, you don't need too much. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, maybe this one is a little bit on the diagonal, like this, just to frame your picture and make it look kind of visually interesting, right? Then I can kind of just lay a little bit of black in between and on top of the purple because it's flowing into the purple. Above the mountain. This really gives us a nice contrast. Contrast is the difference between, in this case, the lightest light and the darkest dark. We have a contrast on all the bottoms of the light sources. If you want to make it a little bit dark, right at the bottom of each light source, that will also make your picture shine and stand out and be visually interesting. Okay, so I'm using a little bit heavier of a pressure where it's right next to the lightest part. Okay, so right next to the lightest part, here I can just use long strokes to just lay it in. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm not putting very much on here. Okay, we just want it to be a little dark. And then maybe I kind of come down a little bit like this. Okay, now we can, this is when you might really actually want to use your paper towel instead of your finger. But make sure you press down really hard, and you can start wherever that you want. And you just sort of want to blend in your black oil pastel into the blackness of the paper. Okay, and then here, let's put our hand down and blend the pink and the black together. There's already black on the paper towel, so that comes through here, as you can see. It's starting to form this really interesting light here, and then I can start down here again and kind of swoop the sky up and down and around, kind of like this. So it goes around the tops of the mountains, like so. Longer strokes to really get that atmospheric quality. I'll come around this one, up and around, up and around, up and around. We're gonna punch up a little bit more white. We'll punch up a little bit more of the colors, and then we'll add the stars. Okay, so what I mean by punch up is it's gotten a little bit dull because I've been messing with it. So I just want to maybe make a few areas a little bit brighter. Okay, so not all the areas brighter, because if everything was bright, then nothing would be bright. So just a few of the interesting parts, like maybe this is the focal point of your picture, so I'm going to do that a little bit brighter, maybe this a little bit brighter, but maybe that one fades into the distance, and maybe this one fades a little bit more into the distance. You can actually take your white. Notice what happens when you put a little bit of the white down there. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to put a little white over there, maybe just a little bit of white on top of this one, just to accentuate some of the curves of the light. And maybe I want to just throw a little bit of light onto the peak, just the tip, just the top of the mountain. Then we can do the same thing with just a few of the other colors. Again, we don't need to do this in all of the places, nothing up there really, just give a little bit more of these in the foreground, a little bit of love. Make them look a little bit more vibrant and bright. Okay, you might not want or need to do this with all the colors, but I'm just kind of showing you how I'm only kind of putting it in this center area. Okay, so that this area here still kind of flows down. Okay, I'll put a little bit more up here, a little bit here. Put that back, maybe a little bit more purple, just sort of up here in the, as the light kind of fades up to blackness. I'll throw a little bit more in. Maybe a little bit in here. And I'm loving this bright, vibrant red and pink. But you don't want that everywhere because that'll overpower the green. And remember, it's mostly greenish tones. There's not a lot of the red. So we just want to be true to the actual northern or southern lights. So we'll just put a little bit more in. And then the last step would be if you just wanted it just a little bit darker in some areas. Because remember, contrast is where the darkest dark meets the lightest light. So notice just by putting in that black right there, I've given myself quite a bit of beautiful contrast. Maybe I just want a little bit more into here. There we go. We'll do one last blend of the colors. And then the last thing we will do is add some stars. Okay, the northern lights show up when it's really, really dark out and there's not a lot of cityscape light drowning it out. So you definitely usually do see a lot of stars when you're seeing the northern or southern lights. But we want to be haphazard with where we place the stars. We don't want them to look polka dot. We don't want the sky to look polka dotted. So we want the stars to be just kind of random. Or if you wanted to do a little constellation, you could do that. But you really don't see too many stars through these lights. So just be minimalistic when it comes to that. And there you go, the northern lights.